I'm Tracy with MeatRx. I'm here with another success story for our podcast. We have Coach Jenae today. Hi, Jenae.
Hi.
And we want to start out by asking you, Jenae, did you have any health conditions or what kind of diet did you have before carnivore?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with end-stage chronic Lyme disease when I was at 18 years old, about a few months before my 19th birthday. And at the time, I was doing I'm going to honestly call it a dirty ketogenic diet. I was addicted to baking. I was constantly baking all sorts of keto goodies and, basically doing American style diet, but low carb, which honestly was not the healthiest thing to begin with. And after being diagnosed with Lyme disease and kind of going through all the natural but still trying to cure my Lyme disease through a pill, I was taking a bunch of herbal supplements and working with a functional doctor, and wasn't really seeing any progress. So I started researching various types of nutritional therapy, even like ones that were really drastic. I'd heard of Michaela Peterson and all of her autoimmune disease, and so I decided to try the carnivore diet. My first attempt at it was really rocky. I just kind of jumped into it because I was so desperate. And from what I've learned, that does not work with my body. It really works best if I eliminate foods slowly, so it's not such a shock. I also did not know about supplementing with even more electrolytes, so salt, than I was on a ketogenic diet. So needless to say, I lasted about a week before I fell off the wagon. I just wasn't feeling great. And at the time, I was also really struggling with my weight. So I was in the mode of intermittent fasting, restricting my calories. And that is not something that you want to do on carnivore. That at least for me, when I first started out, was eating only meat and then trying to fast was not a good idea. So I realized how much my body actually needed that after I ended up quitting. And so I immediately got right back on, but I ended up slowly eliminating food. So I started practicing more of a keto carnivore diet. So I was still eating some low anti-nutrient plant foods like avocado, a little bit of coconut oil. And then in March, about mid-March, I eliminated all plant foods and just went from there. So I was someone who experienced on my, with Lyme disease, I had joint pain, I had neurological Lyme disease, so constant brain fog, headaches. I never felt with it. I couldn't drive for a very long time, so that was really embarrassing for me. Just weird symptom, but I had excessive sweating. That's actually an autoimmune disease in of itself. I did not know that. I learned that I had my body's very sensitive to oxalates. So I don't eat much vegetation, which is why if I eat any plant foods nowadays, I tend to stick with avocado or coconut oil, plant-based fats, if I eat any of those. Let's see. My thyroid was significantly affected from the Lyme disease. I almost had full-blown Hashimoto's. I've been able to lessen that with a carnivore diet. I haven't had my blood tests done recently, but I was very much improving. My energy levels are much more normal now. When I had that situation, I wasn't able to work out. I barely made it through the school day. Typically, when I would get out of school, I would always assign my classes really early in the morning, because then at about 1 p.m., I just want to come home and sleep. And I'd sleep until eventually I had to do my schoolwork. Another thing that I have done to help with my autoimmune conditions is implement cold laser therapy. I don't know if you want me to talk about that a little bit,
Sure.
but it's an alternative therapy, and it's a low level laser. No one really knows why it works for autoimmune conditions. There's some theories. One of the physicians that I learned about it from was Dr. Isabella Wentz. She's like a thyroid expert. So she has some sources if people want to go read that. But this really just completely catapulted my healing with the carnivore diet. When I went in for this treatment, everyone was like, you can eat whatever you want, doesn't matter. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go back to eating grains or anything like that. So with implementing those two things, I have completely gone into remission. The inflammation in my body is completely quieted down. I'm able to work out very intensely now. I enjoy my heavy weightlifting and my HIIT workouts again. That's really it. For me, Lyme disease, I don't recommend going the pill route, whether it's antibiotics with conventional medicine or alternative therapies. They can definitely work for some people. I have seen them work, but for me, it was not the answer. The answer was an animal-based diet and cold laser therapy.
Okay, cool. So did some of your conditions change with the keto diet, or did it?
I felt really good on keto when I initially went keto, because I went keto a year before I had the stressor in my life of both my grandpas dying. And then afterwards, it's like keto lost its effects because I went through that trauma in my life. And it just, it did not cut it anymore. So yeah, it was, it worked, and it worked really well for a while, and then it just kind of stopped because at the time my Lyme disease was quote unquote dormant or in remission, depending on how you want to look at it. I look at it as more being dormant because it was still active in my body, and I was experiencing symptoms, but they just weren't really extreme, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was probably just another food sensitivity that I had, like nuts or something like that I need to get rid of on the ketogenic diet. But yeah, it was not a food sensitivity, just a full out really severe autoimmune condition.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So can you tell me more about the cold therapy? Is it cryogenic?
Yeah. Is it what?
I didn't know if it was like a cryo. Is it?
It's they literally just have this, it's a little handheld machine,
Oh,
and they set it to a certain frequency and they run it up and down your body. For me, they focused it specifically on my thyroid because that is what was taking the brunt of a lot of my symptoms. But there's, like I said, there's a lot of theories as to why it works. There's not a ton of clinical trials on it. But one reason people think it works for Lyme disease is that it actually helps your body get rid of the bacteria. So Lyme, the specific spirochete that Lyme disease is, Borrelia burgdorferi, it has a biofilm around it. And the biofilm is basically like this impenetrable layer that antibiotics, even most herbal remedies, cannot get through to kill the bacteria, which is one of the things that makes it so dangerous. So it actually dissolves, the low level laser cold therapy actually dissolves that biofilm. And then it's just any other bacteria in your body. Like if you had a bacterial infection that you would take antibiotics for it, if that's something that you wanted to do, or just like any other cold that's caused by a bacteria, your body can just get rid of it because it no longer has that protective layer.
okay.
So it's pretty interesting.
So they run this cold thing on your body, and how cold is it?
It doesn't feel cold. It's just the name. It's just like it's just the frequency that it describes.
Oh,
It's really interesting. It's honestly, I don't think I would have recovered as fast as I did without it.
okay. Yeah, so I've heard of people using saunas, and this is kind of the opposite, the cold therapy then.
Yeah, it's I do saunas as well. But definitely the cold laser, it helped me recover very quickly. I definitely attribute a carnivore diet to getting rid of my symptoms, for sure. And that was actually kind of a scary part for me. Right before I found out about cold laser, I was starting to experience Lyme symptoms again, because I was just doing the standard carnivore diet. I wasn't eating a ton of dairy, and I wasn't really using any spices. I was using salt mostly, maybe some black pepper occasionally because I do like that on my eggs. But I was, and coffee, because college student, you can't you can't live without coffee. So I was starting to experience symptoms again, and I was like, I cannot do strict carnivore. That's just, it's not in the cards for me. It's very expensive to do strict carnivore, especially as a college student. So I was just kind of like, I can't do it. I'm just going to do the best that I can, and then just
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes
we'll
total sense for sure. So what was that?
we'll see what happens. I was just like, I'm just going to do the best I can. That's
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so like when you went from keto to carnivore, did you have any problems doing that? Did you have keto flu or anything like that?
So the first time I did carnivore, I did not do it properly. So I was having a lot of issues with being extremely hungry. But at the time I was so terrified of gaining more weight because I was already, I lost a ton of weight going paleo and then keto. And then after my autoimmune disease was expressed and my thyroid condition worsened, I started just gaining weight and gaining weight. So then I started restricting my calories because I was like, well, obviously I'm eating too much if I'm gaining weight this rapidly. So when I went carnivore and I was like, I'm still intermittent fasting. I'm still eating in the 18-6 window, because if I don't, then I'm going to gain weight. But that just created a lot of hunger, which at the time it was, I just didn't know, basically, that you really shouldn't fast for a minimum of 30 days on a carnivore diet after you transition. And then just upping my salt. I did not know that I would need to actually possibly go up to 3 teaspoons a day or something like that. I've seen different people say different things, but I just add salt to how much ever I feel like to my food. I don't really measure it out, but I did not take into account that I was actually going to need more, like
Okay.
possibly actually drinking Soleil and everything. So I I did not have any issues implementing the diet. I think the only symptom that I had was like loose stool. Like everyone experiences that with like excess water leaving your colon because you're not getting any fiber. But that was really it. I didn't have any constipation. I didn't have any digestive issues, but I also was living on eggs and meat. Like I wasn't eating like lots of cheese, especially I wasn't eating processed cheese. One of my clients was addicted to moon cheese.
Oh,
I understand that, but it's good. But I wasn't consuming mass amounts of that because I was like, I need to get my inflammation to be as low as possible in my body. And you do that by avoiding dairy. And if you do eat dairy, then it should be raw, organic, and A2. And we all know how hard that is to find and how expensive it is. So that was really what I was eating, and my body transitioned really well to it. I think that I can probably attribute that to quite a bit with my ancestry. I have a high percentage of Norwegian, Scottish, and Irish ancestry. So I think that possibly my genetics definitely played a factor in how well I was able to transition to something like this. But after I had worked out all the kinks of I wasn't eating enough salt and I needed to not intermittent fast and just kind of trust my body. And if I gain weight, I gain weight. I'll just wear sweatpants. And it worked. And I did not have any problems, but I just feel like definitely the key is eating as unprocessed as possible. The more processed foods you rely, even if they're carnivore processed foods, I mean, in general, processed foods don't agree with really anyone's digestion, in my opinion. And it still goes for being on a carnivore diet. You want to eat as natural as possible.
That's good. Yes, good advice. So you've been carnivore since 2019 January, is that correct?
Really, I say more mid-March. And since I went online school, I have been incorporating more plant foods into my diet, just to be completely upfront and honest, because there has been extreme meat shortages in my area. Even my local farm that I would go and visit was cut to a third of the meat that they were consuming, or producing, excuse me. I started eating some avocado and coconut just kind of keep my meat stores
Oh, yeah.
still plentiful. I'm fortunate that I did not have any reactions to it. But yeah, I mean, great that everyone's eating meat, but kind of problematic when
Oh, yeah.
all of us who eat a heavy meat diet are now like, what do I do?
Oh, right. Right. So how much
So,
weight did you lose? Did you lose how much did you lose on keto?
I don't know what I weigh now. I had, I don't really suffer from it very much anymore, but I had body dysmorphia. Um, and so I don't weigh myself. I don't take any measurements. If I'm cutting or bulking, I'm on a cut right now because I've got kind of what I like to call fluffy.
I lost your sound. I can't hear you.
Oh, shoot. Okay, that doesn't work. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you again.
Okay. So I kind of like my body comp changed. I went from pretty muscular because I was lifting heavy weights in the gym every single day to just kind of feeling a little bit more on the fluffy
Okay.
right now. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Can you hear me again? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I can hear you.
So, I'm sorry. What was I talking about now?
You're talking about feeling fluffy, I think.
Oh, yes. So during quarantine, I want to cut right now. So yeah, and then whatever else I was gonna say after that. Thank you, headphones, for making me lose my train of thought.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Can you tell me what you eat in a day now?
Yeah. So right now I had steak and eggs for breakfast. I just had probably about fist size steak and then 3 eggs, and then I had some coffee with some raw heavy cream in it.
Okay.
I like my coffee. No one's taking it away.
Oh, yeah.
I did a coffee detox after school. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a coach at MeatRx, and so I was going to ask you what your coaching strategy is.
Yeah, so I like to have more of a client-led session. It's a tactic that my university heavily implements, and it just kind of transitioned over to how I like to coach clients. So instead of me telling them you need to be doing this, this, and this, I really like to hear from them on what they're experiencing and how they're feeling versus because if I do tell them what to do, it's going to be what I do, and that might not be what's right for them. So instead of saying to someone, oh, you're having digestive issues, you need to eliminate coffee. That's what's causing your digestive issues because that's what coffee did to me. Obviously, that coffee does not do that to me, but just an example. Because for them, it could be a sensitivity to egg whites. Like there's an anti-nutrient in egg whites when they're not fully cooked, the avidin. So just because that's something that might cause me stomach upset doesn't mean it's going to cause them stomach upset. So really more having a client-led discussion where they tell me what they're eating, and then if they're eating lots of cheese, I say, maybe try and limit your cheese. You don't have to get rid of it entirely, but if you're coating pork rinds, I've seen people do this, coating pork rinds in cheese to make carnivore nachos, maybe try backing off on that and just having some ground beef in bone broth instead. I think that might agree with your digestion a little bit more. So really having them, because it's about them. They're the client. They are the ones who need to speak the most, and then I'm just there to listen and offer guidance, not be you need to be doing this because this works for me, might not work for you. I want to find out and really help you figure out what works for you, not the other way around.
Wow, that's a really, really good way to be a listener. So I like that. So all of your symptoms from the Lyme disease have kind of gone away from being carnivore?
They're completely gone. I have to keep an animal-based diet definitely to keep my symptoms away. I will never be one of those people who's like, I'm cured, I can eat whatever I want. I actually went out to, it was mid-November, went to a football game, and then went out to pizza with friends. And I was like, I don't want to be that person tonight who doesn't eat anything. So I ate pizza. I was so bloated the next morning, and I honestly, it was kind of weird. I almost kind of felt like I was on some sort of hallucinogenic or something. I was like, I don't know if this is the gluten or what's going on, but I feel really weird right now. So yeah, I've tried it. It's not worth it to me to, I mean, if I can have like pizza or something, or even like I can tolerate fathead pizza and almonds, but definitely not something I eat every single day, just due to joint pain and everything. It's worth it to me to eat an animal-based diet to not have any flare-ups. Because when I kind of first started telling people what I was doing, they were like, you know, what do you eat? I was like, well, meat, animal products. And they're like, well, can't you eat pizza? It's kind of funny. It's like, and I understand it. It's like, if you've never done something like this before, it can seem really foreign, and it just kind of creates a barrier in your brain. But yeah, I was just like, it is what it is. If I want to continue to go to school and feel good, then this is what's required. And I'm okay with that.
Well, I think it's great that you found it at such a young age too, and it'll help you through your whole life.
Yeah, it's I definitely don't regret being involved in nutrition at all, because I've had the privilege of being able to work with some really amazing physicians. Even though the functional medicine route didn't work out for me, I still learned a lot from that physician, and I'm really grateful. Same thing, I have a nurse practitioner that I go to. She's absolutely amazing. She doesn't do carnivore or keto. She does Whole30. That's her lifestyle. But she's completely supportive of what I do and everything. And so I've had the privilege of working with some really great physicians and health practitioners that really support the movement of you do what works for you. And I think we need more of that, definitely.
Yeah, that's so nice to have someone like that to be able to go to. Some people do not have that, but they can find people that support carnivore for sure on MeatRx. There's a list of physicians, but Jenae, your story is cool, and I love it. It's so incredible that you got healed, and
yeah, I'm very thankful for sure.
Yes, I'm so happy to hear it, and I think that it'll help a lot of people. So everybody can find you on MeatRx under Book a Coach, and if they would like to talk to you and get some information.
Yeah, I know I gave you my IG handle as the Fat Fueled Girl, but if people are looking for specifically just carnivore for Lyme, I have a separate account called Biohacking Lyme, and that's all I post on there. My Fat Fueled account, it's full of like, it's kind of like my personal account and stuff too. I share like what I'm eating and everything, but also kind of like my day-to-day life with school and everything. So if people are looking for strictly carnivore content, that's the page that I would visit. Anyways.
Okay, so Fat Fueled Girl for carnivore, and what was the other one for your
Biohacking Lyme? The Fat Fueled Girl, that page is a mix of keto and carnivore, because since my family's keto, I like to post what they're eating and stuff on there too, because I have a mix of people following me on that page. But if people want strictly just meat, which I completely understand, it can be very distracting if I'm posting Maria Emmerich's protein noodle lasagna, because my parents were like, post it looks so good. I get that. I actually had the privilege of trying that out and didn't have any symptoms. I was really happy with that. But yeah, strictly carnivore content, you might want to just go to the Biohacking Lyme, because I understand.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry. I'm like, probably should say that my Fat Fueled account's like a mix of keto and carnivore. And yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you so much, Jenae.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure I'll see you around on MeatRx.
Oh yeah, I'm planning on tuning into more things
Yeah.
now school's out.
Cool. Bye-bye.
Bye.